Are you there?
I am.
All righty. Okay, go ahead and take it away.
Okay, thank you so much. Technical things, you know. All righty, so here we are, and welcome again, guys, to Madrid. And this time, we're not going to talk about history. We're not going to talk about late medieval times when Madrid was made with the monarchs and all the Habsburgs and the Bourbons and everything. We are today in a part of Madrid that is very not so well known by the people that the outsiders, and but locals, obviously, we do know this area. I have to put you in situation that's where we are now. Is not the city limits of Madrid. The city limit is gone far beyond to my left-hand side, which is north in that way that I'm pointing. And actually, I'm going to show you right now where it is, the direction. Oh, here it is. So, believe it or not, the airport is very close to where we are. In a straight line, is just about 4 miles from here. That's how close the airport of Madrid is. Obviously, the network of roads that there is around Madrid, several bed roads. We have 4, in fact. And this is the edge of the M40. The other one that is smaller than that one is called M30. M obviously stands for Madrid, and the 30, to be honest, I don't know what it stands for. It's not the number of kilometers. We are in the meter system, and M40 is not the number of kilometers of a circle. So I believe it's just a number to make a difference among one and another. Anyway, this is the second one. Yeah, right there. Right there is the crossing where the highway is. And these houses that you see in the other side of the avenue, those are houses that they were built specifically for those who work into the military corps. And they were built in the mid-50s, 1950s. So they had a kind of a very, very cheap rental, what they had to pay. This was in the middle of nowhere. This is at the very end of the Castellana Avenue. I'm going to give you a little glimpse over there. And oops, that's it. Okay, that's a little kissing moment over here. Well, it was, as I said, in the middle of nowhere. And just around here, there were just fields and meadows. That's everything that wasn't here. It was just in the middle of nowhere. So when they built that compendium of 7 blocks over there, they also had to build just behind that, like a training camp for all these military people that was living over there. And just behind me, I'm going to turn the camera to the selfie mode. Look what we have now. Very modern structures. We're going to talk about it in a moment. But before, it used to be the training fields for the Real Madrid soccer team. We call it football. Don't forget, football was invented here in Europe and precisely in the UK. So what you call soccer for us is football. And well, that's in this land here behind us is where they had the training fields, like 3 or 4 soccer pitches, and also the basketball team, the Real Madrid basketball team, had the stadium over here as well. But the Real Madrid soccer stadium, the official one called Santiago Bernabeu, is down the avenue. And thanks to making the stadium over there in the late 1940s, all these areas started to get developed. And one of the reasons why they built that compendium of blocks in front of us, where the military bus, and is, that also helped to have all this area little by little developed. Well, anyway, look what we have here. Look at all this. This is an extension of 12 acres that it was, the owner was the president of that soccer team I told you, Real Madrid soccer team. And it was pure speculation when in the middle of the 1990s, he put it up for sale because the city limits were expanding. And just very close also to the airport is where they bought some land, practically for peanuts. Comparing the money he got for all this land in here. It was just a speculation maneuver that he made over here, and it was, really, really well done. Anyway, these are 4 towers, as you see. There is a 5th one that we are going to see a little bit later because it's right in the middle, almost hidden. But this compendium of towers, as you see, is what we call the Central Business Center in Madrid. So although it is the new financial area, the financial area of Madrid already existed down the avenue. This is called Castellana Avenue. Castellana means the way to the land of the castles, and the land of the castles, the way is right behind us, where you can see, wait a second, there you go, where you can see all in this avenue is going to the land of the castle, Castilla, the old Castilla. So let's go again to the other camera. Okay, here you are. So I have some notes in here because I want to give you exact data and precise numbers about all these buildings. And there is a curiosity about that building that you see on the end, that one, right? So this one over here is called the Space Tower. This tower, the architect is Henry N. Cobb, and the altitude is 690 feet. By the way, these four towers that we are seeing right now, these are the highest towers in the entire country of Spain. But this one is 690 feet, 90 feet and has 57 floors. On the 33rd floor, believe it or not, there is a chapel, a Catholic chapel. And at night, you can see if the chapel is active or not with a green or red light. If it is red, that means that there is a service. And if it is green, it means that the chapel is there open for especially the people that are working in the building. This building hosts now 4 embassies. They are the Netherlands, Canada, United Kingdom, and another country that's, Australia. Yes, that's fantastic one. Australia. So the embassies are in here. Also, in the top floor, believe it or not, lives the owner. Imagine the view that he must have from that top floor over there. Look at that. I wish I would live over there. A little curiosity about these towers is they are not exactly the same height, all of them, but the temperature drops like 40 Fahrenheit degrees at the top from where we are, the ground floor, and also the wind doubles the speed up there. So, you know, it had to be the design of it had to be taken into consideration because of the altitude, like any other skyscraper. Also, on the 33rd floor as well, there is a restaurant which makes the highest or the tallest, if you want to call it that way, restaurant all over Spain. And the views to the Sierra Mountains, which is in that direction, you see, are really spectacular. I went only once over there. It's not a place that, you know, it's not on my everyday budget, to be honest. Obviously, it's a top-notch restaurant. Well, as I said, the Space Tower. Now, this other is called the Glass Tower. And the Glass Tower has, the second one, has a peculiarity that the top is like a diamond shape. And in the dome, that it is a glass dome, there is a vertical garden which makes the highest garden in Europe 30-meter high. That is 90 feet high. The vertical garden is just one wall, and it's like a microclimate created up there. And well, the architect of this tower is the very famous and very well recognized internationally Argentinian architect called Cesar Kelly. The height of this one is 750 feet. So imagine, you know, how windy it has to be up there. And the numbers of floor are 51. No, sorry, 52. Yeah, 52 floors. Yeah. And this is the curiosity about this building and this other one, because they both were competing to be the tallest tower in Spain. But just by 8 feet, this one, Cesar Kelly, is the tallest in Spain. So, you know, that is just by 8 feet. And here you see the flags of the embassies that they are in this other building, the very first tower that we saw. You can see that all this area has recreational areas for kids as well, and lots of trees, but they are seasonal leaf trees. So that means in winter, all the trees are naked, as you can see them. But in summer, although the trees are very young, it is a very nice area to come over. Also, very modern design with those bars that you see. Wait a minute, let me just get a little zoom in here. So there you are. Look, I'm going to show you much closer the design, and that is because of the wings, just to break the wings, those, let's say, angles in the corners. And that actually reminds me a lot of the New World Trade Center in New York City, you know, the design of this. Well, here you are. And more curiosities about this tower. Well, as I said, the color of the glass is very characteristic because it depends on the light of the day. It also changes. And okay, here, this is the most curious date or data, sorry, about it. It's double glazed. That means that it has a double coat of glasses. And in total, it is 474,000 square feet of glass covering all this tower. Look at this. Obviously, when you come to Madrid, and whether it is by car or by ocean, by all means, see them. But when you see them coming into Madrid, especially from the northern, oh, look at that beautiful sunset from the northern roads. You know, is I mean, you can see them from miles and miles away. We are not a country where we have high towers like this. Mainly, there are some because of big corporation and offices that they are held in. They are mainly just one company owns them. But in this case, excuse me, there are several things going on in the towers. Insurance companies, also, as I said, embassies, and companies, big companies like Red Bull, for instance, has its head office in the first tower that we saw. This is a little bit from the distance. In a few minutes, when I finish explaining these 4 towers, well, actually there are 5 towers, okay? But when I finish just with the last one, we're gonna cross over to the avenue and see them from the distance because they are very impressive. You know, the 5 of them together. This one, this narrow one that we see here, this is the 5th tower that it was built not so long ago. Actually, it was finished like about a year and a half ago. And that is called, or it is known as the Kaleido Tower and has only 38 floors, you know, and it is just over 500 feet high. So that is nothing compared to the others. So this is the name of a tower, Crystal Tower. So there you are. And I'm going to give you a 360 panel of the situation where we are now, the position. That's the first one, and this is the second. So, Sarah, as an architect, what do you think? Were you expecting anything like this in the city of Madrid?
You know, I wasn't, and also I think what I'm really struck by is the height, because I think in a lot of European cities, we think of cities as being maybe maximum 6 or 7 stories. So it's
right.
really, yeah, so it's interesting and unusual to see buildings that are this tall, and they, I mean, virtually brand new, it seems, huh?
Oh yeah. I mean, the end of the construction of the 4 towers, not that one, because as I said, this is only a year and a half ago when they finished. That was supposed to be, by the way, the tallest building in Spain, even taller than the other 4. But the company broke and it went into other hands. They changed the project and they just decided to make it just like that. But the 4 initial towers, the end was officially inaugurated, the last one in 2009. So yes, it is really modern. And as I said, it was just a speculation maneuver that the president of that soccer team made, selling all these 12 acres land to a private corporation that they made business just selling, you know, or hiring or leasing, whoever knows what's the corners of all this. Well, this one. What about this one? Any of you? I'm gonna make a zoom here. Any of you recognizes that logo over there? What about you, Sarah?
No, I don't. What is it?
Price Waterhouse Cooper.
Oh,
Yeah, they are here. And look at the shape. It's absolutely beautiful. I just love it. I think I mentioned to you sometime that I am a frustrated architect. I did a couple of years of architecture, and then I realized it wasn't my thing. But this is known as the PwC Tower. And the architect of that, actually, two architects. And as a curiosity, is the only tower out of these five that we've seen here that is made by only Spanish architects. There are two. One of them is Carlos Rubio, and the other is Enrique Alvarez. And the height of that is 708 feet with 58 floors. So have a look at the height of the one that was supposed to be the tallest one, and the company broke and redid the project. And look at the difference between one and another. Okay, it's quite different. I'm not going to move from here because I just want to say a little curiosity about the following tower. But let me finish with this one, the PricewaterhouseCoopers. That's, as I said, just by the diamond shape. No, that was the other one, the diamond shape. This one is the, oh yeah, the Spanish architect, here it is. And at the top, at the very top of this, I don't know if you can perceive, let me make another zoom. It has like a wind power station. Can you see the small little tiny windows at the very top of the line of the windows? That is where the wind goes in. And there is wind power generators down there that it serves the purposes of the night lights of the building and also the emergency lights of the entire building. So that was just a little curiosity. And if some of you have been following Sarah or me, or even yourself, Sarah, when I have taken you virtually around the city of Madrid, you're going to say, hey, wait a minute, I've seen that in the center of Madrid. What is it? I mean, what is the bear and the cherry tree doing in here? Well, this is a temporary exhibit that different artists, they are not replicating, but copying the statue. And this one, I mean, it's really touchy because you can see maybe I confuse this like a hippie thing or whatever, but no, it's just we are thankful. There is a little heart there. Can you see in the white patch? There's a little heart in red, also with colors, very colorful. The original statue is, as we all know, in central Madrid, in Puerto Sol. But this one really is touching because this was several artists that they have made different copies of it, and this is dedicated to heroes. And I have made a translation of that, and I will focus this in Spanish, but I have made a translation. And this is what the artist says about this specific statue. Her name, as you see there, is Maria Lozada. And she wrote these words: in these pandemic times, we found people who made it easier for all. Doctors, nurses, deliverers, police, fire brigades. The work from my hand represents all of them. Also some other elements like the pillars of our lives, the eyes, the hearts, the rainbow, and everything that protects and brings us joy. So isn't it beautiful? Illustration here. And here it is, the bear and the star cherry tree, which is, you know, for me, it's like a touch of the classical Madrid, remembering these hard times that we're passing in the modern structure. Well, here we are. This is in this PricewaterhouseCoopers, from the bottom, from the ground floor till the floor 32 is a hotel. And also in the floor 32, there is a restaurant that is also open to the public, but you cannot just walk in. You have to make a booking in advance. That's the only condition. And of course, those who are in the hotel. And from the 32nd floor to the top is the offices, headquarters of PricewaterhouseCoopers in Europe. They are hosted in there. That's their headquarters. Right. What about this building that we see here? Well, this building, believe it or not, it has a very, very funny curiosity. Sarah, do you remember the movie RoboCop?
RoboCop, like from the 1980s?
The latest one that it was a reboot, not reboot, a remake that it was in 2013.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I haven't seen that, but I do know RoboCop, yes.
Okay, so if you Google it, you're gonna see. Just Google Robocop 2013. You're going to see the Robocop with some buildings at the back. And in fact, there are these four towers, and this building, which is known as the Cepsa Tower. I'll show you the name in a second. There you are, Cepsa. We're gonna talk about that in a second, right? What they did, they took a photo, and in the poster of the movie is, the remake of the 2013. The four towers appear, and that sign, Cepsa sign, is digitally removed, and it says the name of the company of the bad guys, that it was Omnicord. So that is the one that you will see in that poster of that movie. Well, a curiosity about this one is that the architect is a very well-known architect all over the world, Sir Norman Foster. I'm pretty sure that you've heard about him, haven't you? The altitude is 742 feet, 45 floors in this one. And at the very top, probably from here, we don't perceive, but if you follow the white lines on the side, there's also like making a square arch at the very top. There is a gap. So you can see that the structure in between both sides of the building, they are like cubical pieces of stories that they have been placed in there. At the very top, it is hollow. The initial plan was to make another eolic, a wind farm up there. At the end, it didn't happen. There is so many companies that initially had the tower. First, it was a bank, then it was an insurance company, then it was the national, how do you call it? The national oil, or yes, oil company. Now it is another national oil company, which is this one, Cepsa. But because it's gone through so many names, now we just know it as the Foster Tower. That's how we call it. And as a curiosity, just let me go to the very top of the building. Those letters now visually might look again similar to the one we have just seen in our level. But each of those letters, believe it or not, they are very, very big. I mean, so big that each of them weighs an average of 130 pounds. Yes, let me just go again over there. Look, each letter. And the billboard by itself is the longest in Spain, which is 50 feet long. There you see. And it is windy here today. I don't know if you can hear the wind, but it is a little bit windy and also chilly as well. Well, and now, as we're gonna walk, let me just, are you there? Yes, there we are. Okay, so just let me put the selfie mode, and as I walk, I just want you to see from the distance these towers where we started, and in front of us is this big one. Actually, it is impressive when you are just by the side of these towers. I need to move again here, and I'm just panning to my right. There you see the Hotel Eurostars Madrid, and 32 stories of a hotel. The restaurant on the same floor, 32, and from the 33rd onwards is the PricewaterhouseCoopers. That is another company that has the headquarters over here. And from here, we can really see on Telis Tower, the tallest tower of Spain, that has a kind of a diamond shape. And if you use your imagination, and I use my zoom, we can see a little bit, just also using our imagination. That is the vertical garden I told you that is 90 feet high, and the top of the building. And going to the other one, the top floor is where the owner of that tower lives. That flag that you see there is not the biggest, but the second biggest in Spain. It weighs 150 pounds, just the fabric of the tower. Okay, guys, let's continue because there is something else I just want to show you. I'm not going to take much of your time today because I just want, oh, yes, here we are. So as you see, the entrance of one of the belt roads, as I told you, all these buildings that we see around there, those are structures from the 60s and 70s. And Sarah, as an architect, I just want to ask you a question because I just find that 60s and 70s is when the architects, they lost all sense of imagination. Look at those ugly structures. Do you think that happens a lot all over Europe?
That is a very, very good question, Jorge, because I know for us, as we look at this with our eyes, this is so boring and unimaginative and ugly. But I think it's more interesting to try to look at it from the point of view of the architects at that time, because think about this, at that time, buildings that you saw in Madrid would have been mostly from the 19th century, something like that, very over decorated. So this was incredibly modern back then. This was a big statement because it was so different and so spare and clean. It's called international style. A lot of it kind of comes from the 1920s and 30s when they developed the international style. And then in the 60s and 70s, they kind of repeated that style and copied it in not great ways.
Now, don't tell me it's not boring.
Well, no, I don't disagree with you. It's not that I disagree with you. I think it's more that when we talk about modern architecture from the 60s and 70s, it's easy to dismiss it and say, oh, it's terrible. Oh, it's ugly. But I think it's more interesting to think, well, why was this interesting at the time it was built? Why was this different? And at that time, everything else in the city would have been much more decorated, you know?
That is a very interesting point of view that you have just mentioned. Actually, to be honest, I never thought about that. It was kind of maybe innovative, for the eyes of the time. But now with the time in distance, I just find it so boring because once you see one, it's like repeating the same thing over and over again. And now
it's important, I think, to remember that architecture is a lot like fashion. It's like, think about what were people wearing in the 60s. I would not wear like mini skirts and tube tops, but that's what people wore back then. You know, I think about like the house I grew up in the 70s had avocado green everything. Everything was avocado green, the refrigerator, the stove. And I think about that now and, ooh, how gross. Why would anybody paint their kitchen avocado green? I don't know. I wasn't alive back then, but somebody thought that was stylish and everybody agreed.
No, you're right. I mean, it makes a lot of sense what you're saying. But again, look at what I have in front of me. Oh my God. Wow, this is lovely. This is lovely.
But anyway, we're going to think about it when it was new. Think about when this was new. It was probably very tidy and beautiful. And what people thought was interesting at the time were the lines and the geometry, because you could see how the building was built. Think about the Pompidou Center in Paris. It's the same. I mean, when that was built, it looked horrible, but it was such an intriguing idea. So I don't know. Just a different way to look at modern architecture, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. And also, it's kind of what you said, you know, that avocado green in the in the 60s and 70s is a kind of wow, I would never do or wear that. But anyway, it's a good point what you mentioned. Well, now as we are in the center of the avenue and I'm just going to point out something which is very curious. Look, first of all, just let me go very deep into the zoom. You see the tower over there that represents like the former World Trade Center in New York City, that tower over there. Actually, I know that in Seattle, you have one tower very similar to that one, which is the Architects IMA. Okay, that was the tallest building of Madrid until those towers that we have just seen. We're going to see again now in distance. They were built. And it's 180 meters. Multiply that by 3, and it will give you 540 feet. This column that we see in the middle is the only Calatrava, Santiago Calatrava structure that we have in Madrid. Actually, it was a moving column. And you can say, what? A moving column? Yeah. It's a column that was made in segments of iron covered in gold leaves. and they were moving. So it was like a kind of moving structure, but it was broken every other week. So the maintenance was so high that they decided to keep it just in one position. To do it. It's just a golden color column over there. And I mean, for me, it's one of the most useful things that Calatrava has done. And mind you, I admire Calatrava, Santiago Calatrava. And look at those buildings. Those buildings, they were started to be constructed in the very early of the 90s. It wasn't a specific architect. It was a consortium done by Saudi Arabian, a temporary joint venture of several companies. But halfway through the construction, they broke. So the name of that company was KIO, KIO. So it was for about a year and a half abandoned the works. Then a bank and insurance company, bank, the one on the right, and the insurance company, the one on the left, took over the works and they decided to finish and just make their headquarters of their companies over there. Well, they finished the works, and for us, they remain at the towers here. They have a 15-degree inclination, as you can see, and the main beam is perfectly visible from here. So it goes from the very base of the entrance of the building, which is in the bended side, and it goes to the top. So you can actually measure, that there is a 15-degree inclination. There is a peculiarity about these two towers. They have been named twice. The very first one, it was before it was finished, and it was called the Devil's Gate. And why the Devil's Gate? Well, there was a movie from 1995, Spanish movie called The Day of the Beast. And it was showing some manuscripts with the signature of Ever with two marks like that. So that's why, because of that movie, they nicknamed it the Devil's Gate. Later on, if we look backwards, wait a minute, let me guess. If we look over there, there was nothing. I mean, those towers, there were nothing over there. So that was like, let's say, the official entrance to the city of Madrid. So it was named like the Gate of Europe, because going there is going north and also going to France. But right now, it's not any longer the getaway of Madrid, although it still remains the same name, the Gate of Europe. And well, let's go to this end of this walk where I am. There is a tunnel just going under here, and this is the exit of the tunnel or the entrance. You can try to drive, but I'm just going to do a panel showing you what it was the modern Madrid of the late 20th century. This is where I'm pointing at right now. In the middle, there are some buildings, those boring Sara buildings from the 60s and 70s. There you see them. All this, as I initially started saying, was developed because of the Real Madrid soccer stadium that is on our left right now, like about a couple of miles down the avenue. In the late 40s, was developed in the middle of nowhere. So thanks to that, all these areas started to have a new city planning. And then from here is where we start seeing all these new areas, barely 11, 12 years old, all this. So there you are. And from here, you can to see much better the gap I was telling you in the top of that building. So there you see, from this point of view where we are now, there's only three, but I'm just going and I'm taking advantage of the light is going for the pedestrian crossing the street. And once we get to the other corner, we're going to see the four towers. The reason why in the distance there seems to be only three is because they are not aligned. See, and now it's appearing the other one. You see the darker one? So there you go. And okay, this is the perfect place. So this tower here, from this point of view, it seems to be part of the same building, but no, it is a different one. So remember the logo, PricewaterhouseCoopers, it's up there. So there you see 1, 2. The shorter one you cannot see from here because it's hidden in between those two. And 3 and 4. And well, Sarah, what can I say? Thank you again for giving me this chance. I hope that you liked it, and Everybody also liked it as well. But this
I
is
do
a
have a
part of
question.
Madrid.
I have a
Yeah,
couple questions for you, though. First of all,
tell
you
me.
mentioned Calatrava, who is very
Yeah.
interesting to me because he's one of the most, if those of you watching don't know, he's probably one of the most famous modern architects right now. So you think about Frank Gehry, you think about a lot, Norman Foster, a lot of these people that are working right now that are already considered to be geniuses, Zaha Hadid, he's in the same league. So Calatrava, if you've never heard of him, he's one of the most famous architects today.
Well, he has a wonderful museum in Minnesota. He has also several other works in your country and all over the world.
So the only thing that you said, the only thing that he's got in Madrid is that column, right?
That's the only thing we have, and it's the useless thing he ever did.
Okay, but this is what's funny is that Calatrava, even though he's so famous and everybody loves his work, he reminds me a little bit of Frank Lloyd Wright in the sense that his work might be beautiful to look at, but functionally it sucks. So, for example, the thing that comes to mind the quickest for me is the glass bridge in Venice. He did a bridge over the Grand Canal made of glass. It's metal and glass, and it seems like a really cool idea because Venice, of course, is the city of glass, but it rains there all the time. And so people have fallen and broken their legs. And actually, I read an article about 3 or 4 days ago. They're going to
also what happens with that bridge is that it's not an arch that you can walk flat. You have a step every 2 or 3 steps, isn't it?
Yeah.
You have to go up or down depending on the side of the bridge that you are. A little curiosity about another bridge of Calatrava is the one he made in Bilbao. And Bilbao is one of the wettest cities in the world together with Seattle. And he made exactly the same thing, a glass floor on a bridge. So people were sleeping all the time, sleeping all the time and falling. The city hall in Bilbao, they decided to put some kind of mats just to avoid people keep falling all the time. And guess what? Calatrava sued the city hall. And guess what? He won the trial. But the conditions of that sentence was that, okay, he has to be compensated for altering his job, but those mats have to be permanently there because of the, safety, just for that.
It's a safety hazard,
anyway.
yeah. The other thing that was very funny on the one in Venice is that it was designed so that you actually could drive a car on it, like accidentally. They didn't mean to design it that way. And somebody did. Somebody tried to drive a car on it. And so this is kind of the thing about, so this is the thing about modern architects, especially the real hotshot architects. When I was working in architecture, I was always thinking about the practical side of things. How do people use buildings? How do buildings interact with their surroundings? But hotshot architects are more like sculptors. They don't really care so much about the use and the functionality of it. They're much more concerned about making a statement. And so I don't know.
Right.
Yeah. So
one of the things I have also in mind now that you're mentioning all this is, for instance, we see, especially here in Europe, 4, 5, 6, 700 years old cathedrals that they have resisted earthquakes, fires, wars, etc., etc., etc. These buildings have been made mainly out of glass, most of them. It's going to happen in 100 or 200 years' time. It would be really curious to find out what's happening,
Well, but that's also being a part of being an architect is what we call life cycle costing, where you actually calculate how long you think that building is going to exist for, and you only plan for that much. So buildings made today are not intended to last forever. They aren't. They have a lifespan because they assume they're going to be torn down. So it's an unfortunate different point of view. I don't think a lot of people realize is it switched probably, I would say, in the 70s and 80s from being you build forever to being you build for now,
Yeah, right. So, I'm pretty sure that probably what you say is very interesting because this one I'm pointing at right now.
Yeah.
That one probably in 100 or 200 years, that's not 60, but this one for sure, this only thing.
Yeah. Well, but there's actually a lot of change about the post-war architecture in Europe as well. Post-war architecture, a lot of it, they did it also because it was inexpensive. It was easy to build that stuff quickly to,
That's right.
take care of the boom, the economic boom in Europe. But I know at least when you think about England, for example, that had a ton of that ugly stuff, they're tearing those places down. It was led actually by
Yeah.
Charles, the charge to do that. And so who knows, maybe in Madrid, you'll get the same thing. Maybe they'll have a movement to tear down all the ugly post-war stuff.
We didn't go through the World War II. We did go through our Spanish Civil War, and most of the things that they were not bombed, they're still there. So, but who knows? You might be right. Yeah, some of the things might be knocked down and just still some things. Like it was nothing there. It was just a training field for the players, the football players, and now it's this huge mammoth complex. Speculation as well.
Yeah.
You know.
So
Yeah.
the one last question that I had for you is, you showed us an upper floor that had a vertical garden. Are those things accessible to visitors? Like if I came to Madrid, would I be able to go up and see that?
No, unless you are invited by someone who works over there.
Okay.
And the only place that you have access to is the restaurant I mentioned, and only with a prior booking. Only that. And of course, you have to show your ID when you go into those buildings. The security is extreme to go into those buildings. This first tower that we see from here, that was evacuated in April 2019. Yeah, April, because of a bomb threat. And since then, I mean, the security to go into any of those buildings, they are just like incredible. Actually, I have to confess, 5 minutes before we connected here, I was just with my gimbal, like I am now, just trying to find the correct angle and knowing how and where to point at. And a security man, one of the security company man just approached me saying, "May I ask you what you're doing?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I'm going to broadcast live right now in a few minutes. I just want to know the angles." And because the sun was hitting here, and I said, "Oh, well, okay, fine." So, it was just a question. He was very educated, very nice, but the security to go in there is very, very strict.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this has been very interesting, Jorge. So thank you for taking us to see a different side of things. I think when we think about Europe, we focus so much on the old things that we forget that there's actually a modern side to things that's very interesting.
That's right.
Well.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Very
okay,
cool.
guys. So to everybody who's watching, thank you very much. Have a wonderful day. Sarah, thank you again for your time here and your gratitude. What can I say? Yes, again, thank you so much. And tomorrow we're meeting again, right?
We are, yes. So at 10 o'clock a.m. Pacific time, so 7 p.m.
That's
your
right.
time, Jorge is going to present a slideshow so that he can't take you all over Spain because he's in Madrid. So we're going to take you all over Spain by way of a slideshow. And he'll also let you know a little bit about what he's doing for his tours. So if you want to join us tomorrow, that'll be at 10 a.m. Pacific time. All these events, of course, are going to be posted on Facebook. You can watch them later if you need to. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.